Okay, so we are on question number 7. There's, oh my god, there are a lot of questions in this chapter. There's 11 more questions that you need to discuss. Okay, so question 7. The length of a simple pendulum is 65 centimeter and it is released at an angle 6 degrees to the vertical. So if to calculate the period of the oscillation, the pendulum's bob speed and acceleration when it passes through the lowest point of the swing, and then a student uses the same pendulum to measure the acceleration of gravity at the school, so the length of the pendulum was half. If the period of the pendulum is this, what is the experimental value of G? Wow, oh my god, what question is this? Okay, so it might sound hard, but I don't really think it's hard. Just have to remember equation. Itu je lah tips saya. So the length of the simple pendulum is 65 centimeter. So if you convert that into meter, it will be 0.65 meter. So it is released at an angle of 6 degrees to the vertical. So we have to calculate the period of the oscillation. So for a simple pendulum, the period is going to be 2 pi L over G. So that is 2 pi, L is 0.65, G is 9.81. So that gives you the period to be equal to 1.62 seconds. Okay, so that one is very straightforward, as you are just going to apply the equation. For question B, we have to calculate the pendulum's bob speed and acceleration when it passes through the lowest point of the swing. So we know that the pendulum bob is something like this. So the lowest point of the bob is here. Okay, so it is at this point here. So at this point here, the displacement is equal to 0. So if you remember what is happening at y equal to 0, y equal to the equilibrium point, we know that the acceleration should equal to 0. So we can then write down a equal to 0 lah. Now for the velocity pula, so how do we calculate the velocity? We know that the velocity is gonna be equal to omega a, okay? But the problem is now we do not have the value of amplitude, okay? But what we can do is we can then apply, we can then actually calculate the value of amplitude. So macam mana kita mau cari the value of amplitude? But first let me just wait, okay, rewind. So what is happening at y equal to 0 for the speed is, we know that it will have the maximum velocity. Okay, so maximum speed occurs at y equal to 0, right? So now how do we find this formula? So what is the value? How do we determine this value of a omega? Because the problem is now we do not have the value of amplitude. We do not have the value of angular frequency as well, but this one we can calculate using the period here. So first let me just calculate for the period. So that is 2 pi over t, which is equal to 2 pi over 1.62 radian per second. Okay, kalau kamu mau solve lah. Tapi macam malas pula, masuk je lah. Okay, and then for the amplitude pula, so for the amplitude, it will be equal to L sine theta. So how do we know it's L sine theta? If you see that the pendulum bob is released at an angle of, assuming begitu je lah, okay, so konon lah this one ni 6 degree. Tapi besar lah juga 6 degree dia kan. Okay, so kita perlu cari dia punya amplitude. So macam mana kita mau cari dia punya amplitude? Itu kah amplitude dia? Macam kecil. Tapi amplitude dia something like this lah. Okay, so that is the amplitude of the pendulum lah. So how do we find this? We know this is gonna be L. So if we apply sine theta, opposite over the adjacent, so opposite is A, hypotenuse. Opposite over the hypotenuse, which is L, we can then get the amplitude to be equal to A equal to L sine theta. Okay, so dari situlah kita dapat this equation here lah. Okay, so dari situ kita bolehlah substitute dalam this equation here. So omega is 2 pi over t lah. Okay, so kalau kamu substitute, this will be 0.65 sine 6 degree 2 pi over 1.62. Kamu akan dapat the velocity ataupun the speed at the lowest point to be equal to 0.26 meter per second. Okay, so that is how you solve question B. Okay, question C pula. We have to... A student uses the same pendulum to measure the acceleration of gravity at their school. So the length of the pendulum was half if the period is 1.136 seconds. What is the experimental value of G at their school? Oh, okay. So actually this one lain kan dari yang kamu punya tutorial questions. But follow this one. This is the correct one. Okay. Okay, so... okay, untuk yang itu, the length is half. So... that is L divided by 2. Actually, I don't like use this one. Okay, L divided by 2, you will get 0.325 meter. And then the period is 1.138 seconds. So what we can use is we can use T equal to 2 pi L over G. So this is for simple pendulum punya formula. Okay. So untuk yang ini, T is given. If the period of the pendulum, okay, so T is yang ni. So kita just perlu substitute lah. So T is 1.138, 2 pi. So L is 0.325 over G. Okay, so dari sini kamu rearrange, kamu akan dapat G equal to 9.907 meter per second square. Okay, so that is on question 7.